Hi, my name is Paul. Today's video is going to show me making spaghetti. Now what happened was I originally started making spaghetti when unfortunately the battery on my camera went out.
Island as a demonstration of our power and Crimson Jihad's willingness to be humanitarian. However, if these demands are not met, Crimson Jihad will rain fire on one major American city each week.
Fortunately, the battery on my camera went out. It's a Li-ion battery rather than AA cells, which meant I can't simply pull fresh batteries and put them in. I have to plug the camera in to charge it because the camera works as both battery charger and consumes the battery as it needs it. So I had to wait another day, which is today, to finish the video. So in the process, I happened to discover that we had whole wheat pasta left. I had bought some, thought I had used it all, but I had actually only used about half. So I was able to do it with whole wheat pasta, and it adds an interesting flavor over the just plain, thin spaghetti made with durum wheat versus the whole wheat. Whole grain is what it said. It didn't say whole wheat, it says whole grain. Okay. But anyway, let's get started. Okay, so now, what do we need to make spaghetti? Well, obviously, we need spaghetti. You can either get spaghetti, or you can get thin spaghetti, you can get that other one which ends with an I, which I can't remember the name of, that means really thin spaghetti. Can't remember what it was. Garlic powder. That's because you want to use more garlic. You want to avoid too much salt, which you get in garlic salt. The reason being this way, I'm not just putting salt in it, also has some garlic in it, so it does help it be a little less unhealthy. Since I'm going to make this without sauce, I'm going to put butter on instead. Butter and cheese. In this case, I'm getting the dual cheese, which is Parmesan and Romano. I've tried both kinds, so I think getting a mix of both would be more interesting. I need a pan and presumably a lid. Now, someone who saw my last video noticed that I made macaroni and cheese for chili mac, but I didn't have a lid on the pan. But remember, I'm filming this. There is stuff I am doing when I'm filming that I would not do in order to allow you to see the water boiling and to see the product being cooked. I have to run it without a lid. So, also, as I have said in other films, I would normally have the fan running in order that any smells that occur from cooking would not linger in the kitchen, would be sucked outside. But, as you can hear, with the fan on, it being extremely loud, it is relatively hard to hear me. Now you can see how loud I was yelling with the fan on. So you can see why I don't want to have to have the fan on while I'm cooking. So that's another thing I would be doing otherwise. After I opened the package of thin spaghetti, I went in the refrigerator and I noticed that I had a package of whole grain spaghetti, so I decided to use that instead. Okay. So what else do I need? I also need a colander. I need a spoon in order to stir the spaghetti while it's in the pan being boiled. I have a red spoon today because it's just more colorful. No specific reason, since I don't need to strain it like I would for pasta, like macaroni, small pieces. It doesn't need to have holes in it. I need a fork in which to pull a piece of spaghetti out of the pan to check it to make sure it's done, and also to eat the spaghetti after I've cooked it. We also need either a bowl or a plate to put the spaghetti on. Since I'm mixing a lot of stuff into the spaghetti, it's easier to work with in a bowl. Now what some people do is they'll make spaghetti and they'll put whatever they're putting onto it, if it's sauce or in my case cheese, garlic and salt on the spaghetti, and they will mix it up in a bowl before serving it on plates. You can do that. But since I don't have anybody else I'm serving, just me, I will simply mix it in the bowl and eat it out of the bowl. Now, as I did with my last one, I'm going to take that pan and fill it full of water. Half full, maybe a little more. Oh, is it on? Yeah. Now this is going to take a few minutes, so I'm going to take the advice of one of the people that was watching, and I'm going to put the pot, I'm going to put the cover on for about 5 minutes. That even though I boiled it for 6 minutes, not 5, I boiled it for 6 minutes. I figure it probably takes 8 to 10 for it to get to a real rousing boil, but and probably another couple minutes and it should start boiling. There is something I found out today, and that is that contrary to popular belief, you don't need to put salt into boiling water to make it do any better. Now it's starting to boil, and as I was wrong, because I never really watched it. I usually just put it on, waited till it got boiling, and then did so. It takes about 10 minutes to get to this point. Now to make sure this cooks enough, I'm going to now leave it to boil for 10 minutes. So clock. Oh. Timer. 10 minutes it is. And since this is boiling rapidly, I'm going to put the lid on. Now it is starting to spit quite a bit, to the point that it may be getting dangerous. So, since it may be getting dangerous at this point, I'm going to take the cover off so it doesn't overboil. Watching water boil probably has to be one of the most boring things that you can do, which is why the expression "watch pot never boils" comes up, because you're sitting there waiting and waiting and waiting, and all you can do is sit there and watch the thing boil. Nothing's really happening. Anyway, this has been on for 9 minutes. I'm going to call it here. Or what I'll do is, I will grab my trusty little fork. Well, not little. Stir this around and grab a piece. Well, I would grab a piece if it wasn't covered in water and slippery. Ah! 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 It is kind of hot though. Yeah, that's done. What I have found is that the simplest way to keep the strainer from crawling is to stick it in the drain. Then it's stuck in the drain and it won't move. At least that's the theory. Let's see what happens as I pour the spaghetti into the strainer. The strainer screams in agony. Can't scream in agony, it's dead. And as you can see, pan's empty. It all went out. Now, I'm not the type to rinse my spaghetti. Some people do, some don't. I'm in the don't category. I don't care. No, I'm eating it myself. I've never found it to be sticky. So I never really bothered. I guess some people rinse it in order to make it a little bit cooler, but I have found that by the time I get around to eating it, it's already cooled quite a bit. Sometimes I've had to put it back in the microwave. Here is my nice blue bowl to put it in. Yeah, I could also put it on a plate, but this is easier because I'm handling, a bunch of stuff that can spill over. This way, nothing spills. Here is the bottle of garlic salt. I'm going to open the whole part right there, and I'm going to sprinkle some on. That may be way too much for garlic salt. For garlic pepper, it's not, because the worst that happens if you put too much garlic. Let's try that again. Garlic powder, not garlic pepper. Anyway, with garlic powder, if you put too much on, it just has too high a garlic taste. It's not really going to hurt you. As far as I know, there's no such thing as, for at least for normal people, toxic levels of garlic. For example, if you drank, I believe the number is 150 cans of Mountain Dew simultaneously, that is one after the other, you would consume enough caffeine to kill you. But you would be waterlogged long before you could drink that much soda. 150 12-ounce cans, which is 1,500 plus 300, 1,800 ounces of soda, which if you divide that up by 128, that's 10 gallons. Now, I can drink quite a bit, but I don't see myself being able to drink 20 2-liter bottles of soda. A gallon is about 4 liters. They're not quite the same, but it's close enough. So you get a little facts about Mountain Dew in your spaghetti video. I hope that doesn't contaminate it. Anyway, I'm going to stir that up so that the garlic isn't all on the top. And I may add more garlic later. Usually it's fine on the salt, because again, it's just for taste. I'm going to use about a half a stick of butter. That's 1/8 of a pound, or about 4 tablespoons. Because what I want is for all the spaghetti to be coated evenly with some butter, but I don't want a lake in there. A whole stick would probably make it way too much. If I find that it's not enough, I can always add a little more. But this is, what would this be? Half a pound of spaghetti. So I think that'll work. And now my where is that? There it is. Dual cheese, which is Parmesan and Romano. I bought Parmesan before. I don't know if I've ever bought Romano directly. I know I've bought Parmesan only cheeses before. But anyway, again, I'm using the whole part because I don't want to. Now, what are you saying? I'm loading it with fat from cheese and I'm loading it with fat from butter. Yeah. Tell me about it. If you haven't noticed from the opening vanity plate of me, which is a parody of Alfred Hitchcock's program, I am fat. I'm not denying it. I used to be a lot fatter. But I'm not denying that. I'm not admitting that, sometimes I have eaten too much. Not all the time, but too many times. Now what will happen, of course, is that the spaghetti, which is quite hot, will melt the butter, and stirring it up because I've just sprinkled cheese on it. And if I want the cheese to go through all of it, because all it is that the taste of this is and now I'm saying macaroni in a spaghetti video. The spaghetti is the taste. The spaghetti, the cheese, the garlic, and the salt are the taste. Those are what you're going to use. And this is just plain bare spaghetti. I don't know how you get spaghetti out of bears, but looks like, yeah, as you can see, unless it's really buried in there, okay, it is, but it's getting there. One way is to break up the large bar of butter in a smaller one. I use butter, yes, it's about twice as expensive, but since they make margarines, hydrogenated oils, which is another name for trans fats, I think it's far better if I use butter. If I'm going to use something that's bad for me, I should use something that's a little less bad for me, and that's why I use butter, because while it is more expensive, it's a natural product rather than an artificial one using hydrogenated oils, which is what margarine usually is. That's why it's so cheap. I mean, butter is probably 2 to 3 times as expensive as margarine, but it also tastes a lot better. And I don't use a whole lot of it. I mean, unless I'm using it for spaghetti, mashed potatoes, corn, that's about it. Pancakes, of course. Unless I'm making some of those, I'm not using butter for anything. I'm not using it. I don't do a lot of cooking of stuff that requires butter. And so anyway, in fact, you can't, I don't know if you can see that it stopped steaming already from my stirring it. So anyway, now we'll go for the taste test. Here's the bowl of spaghetti. And now, let's see if that makes any difference. Turn the light off. Yeah, it doesn't, it's bright enough here being bright daylight that it's not much difference. Anyway, here we go. This is delicious. It's al dente. I may be pronouncing it wrong, which is the Italian word for slightly firm. Because I was filming this, it got cold while I was striking the cameras to change position. Now it's not cold like out of the refrigerator, it's just room temperature. It's not as hot as I like. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to throw it in the microwave for about a minute so it'll be scalding again. Then I'll have to sit and wait for it before I can eat it because it'll be too hot. Maybe I'll do 30 seconds instead of 1 minute. But anyway, this is good. I may add a little extra garlic because I'm a garlic fanatic. In fact, I have a story. My mother was a big fan of a certain food group because her entire diet consisted of the 4 major food groups: coffee, cabbage soup. Well, before she stopped smoking, her diet was coffee, cabbage soup, cigarettes, and the 4th item, which she used to eat a lot of. In fact, my apocryphal story, it's not true, but it gives you an idea what she was like, and that was that she's sitting in the kitchen eating something, crunch, crunch, crunch. So I happened to ask her, how is that? She said, it's pretty good, nice and crunchy, but it needs a little salt. Well, what are you eating? She looks at the packet, salt sticks. So anyway, what I'm going to do is I'm going to add a little bit more garlic. I may add a little more cheese. And I'm going to put this in the microwave for about 30 seconds, maybe a minute. And it should be hot enough to eat again. But if it wasn't for the fact it's room temperature instead of piping hot, it'd be fine. You know, might add some extra stuff, but it's fine. I mean, it's not like it's horribly bad or there's not enough. It's just I like more of the stuff I put on it since it's just spaghetti and that stuff, the condiments I put on it. You know, it's not like if you have spaghetti with meat sauce or spaghetti and meatballs, you got all the other things to taste. The spaghetti and the stuff you put on it has to stand on its own more than spaghetti sauce will, because you may not notice with spaghetti sauce you might have it not as much garlic as you like, or not very salty if you're a salt fanatic like my mother was. You may find that that's not a, you know, you may find that that's not enough, but it's not going to affect the taste as bad because you got the tomato paste and everything else that's in there. So anyway, my name is Paul, and thank you for watching. Email Paul at paul-robinson.us. So what happened is that I had to make space. I had to poke my ear again, scratch my ear again. 3, 2. Hi, my name is Paul. Today's video is going to show me making spaghetti. Now, what happened is I originally started making spaghetti, but anyway, I guess I should say okay. But anyway, let's get started. I guess that's it, because I can't think of anything else I really need to say, except I'm going to cut that scene from True Lies. And kill camera.